I'm Victor Fernandez of Fernandez Fit, and I'm here to show you why fitness is our business. Hello and welcome once again to the Healthy Lives, Healthy Business podcast. I'm your host, Victor Fernandez. Thanks for joining me as you do each and every week. I greatly appreciate it. And if you do actually join me each and every week, you will be greeted by me for now the 100th time. Yes, this is episode number 100 of this podcast. Now, of course, it's had 2 or 3 different iterations along the way. But back on October 10th, 2021, I launched the first episode called Are You Ready to Change? And I guess it was rather appropriate that I called it that because a lot of change has taken place, at least for me individually and in my life over these past 3 years now, because it's actually been 3 years of this show as well. Nearly 3 years to the day since this episode dropped. So much has changed along the way, and it's amazing to me. And the irony of it all is my goal for this episode is to do something I really haven't done before in the other 99 episodes, and that's to try to keep it short and sweet. Because to encompass everything that's transpired within this show from day one to now this 100th episode, a lot has gone on, and I don't know if there's enough time to really express how much of an impact doing this show has had on me. I'm hoping it's had some semblance of an impact on all of you, but it certainly has changed how I view life, how I view my business, how I view my family, all of it. And these last few weeks, I guess I've gotten a bit nostalgic. Certainly, I've been reminded of this on a few occasions of late, that most podcasts on average don't last more than a half a dozen episodes or so, 6 or 7 episodes. So to reach episode 100 is pretty rarefied air. It's a lofty goal. Now, do I have the following that some of the biggest names out there do? Absolutely not. But that's not why I did this. Yes, I would love to have a huge following. I would love to have thousands and thousands and tens of thousands, maybe even million followers. Would love it. That way I could, the message that I share from the experiences that I've encountered in my lifetime, especially my adult life, could help more and more people out there. And that's ultimately why I do what I do. But even if one person follows me, even if there's only one of you out there listening to this episode right now, and maybe you've listened to it every week or almost every week or, every now and again, I'm hoping that you take something away from it. I have told people this many times before, that you try to live a life without regrets, but I have regrets, namely that I waited so long in my adult life to get my act together and start becoming the version of myself that I want to be, the husband I want to be, the father I want to be, the entrepreneur, the friend, all of it, that it took so long. But ultimately what I'm trying to do is get people, is hope that people can learn from my mistakes and apply some of what I share with you each and every week to your daily life, and hopefully it helps you in some way. Because I know when I was going through it, and this really is the reason why I started this podcast, because contrary to popular belief, it's not because specifically that I like to run my mouth, which is true, but that's not the only reason. I do it because I want at least even just one person out there, and hopefully more, to understand that you're not alone, that the mistakes you've made or the poor decisions you've made or the bad luck you've encountered, the misfortune you've experienced, that other people have gone down those paths as well. And when I was going through my early adult life, especially, my 20s, my 30s, even into my 40s, it was hard to believe that anybody understood how I was feeling. I even though I do like to run my mouth and I do like to talk to people and obviously talk on this show as well, I tend to keep my feelings to myself, my thoughts to myself, my opinions to myself, in the sense of, especially when it comes to me specifically, my struggles, my problems, my obstacles, my challenges in life, because and I'm sure so many of you can understand this and can relate to this, it's you don't want to burden people with your issues. That's the way I was raised. I was raised, people have their own problems. They don't want to hear about ours. They don't want to hear about mine. They don't want to have to deal with that because they got enough to deal with in their own lives, and understandably so. So it's hard to believe when you're not that outward about your problems. It's hard to believe that there's other people out there that understand how you feel. And when I started in this industry, in the health and fitness industry, I began to realize that I could relate to most anything anyone shared with me. I don't think I've run into an instance where someone shared a story of personal struggle within their own individual life where I couldn't come away with, I remember this when, and pinpoint, a story that took place involving me that helps me understand what they're going through and hopefully helps me solve their problem. I didn't think like that back then. I thought I was alone. I thought, well, if I go tell somebody what I'm dealing with, how I felt about myself, no one's going to understand. I'm here to tell you that people understand. I certainly understand. And I know it, but I know it's hard for people to express those feelings. And I've had people from time to time reach out to me and specifically say, hey, I listened to your episode the other day and you said this, this, and this during that episode, and it really resonated with me. And it helped me further understand what I was going through and helped me start processing what I was going through and coming up with solutions to what I was going through. And that means the world to me because I wanted to start this podcast just like I wanted to venture into the health and fitness industry, just like when I started my own business. The goal was to impact people's lives in a positive manner as best I can. I know I can't change everyone for the better, but I can change someone for the better. And I can try to do that each and every day. So I get on here knowing full well that maybe only a handful of people are listening, and I do it anyway. Because I don't do it for the clicks. I don't do it for the views, even though it's great. I don't do it certainly I don't do it to make money because I haven't made a penny off it yet, and I don't anticipate I will. I do it because I want to help people. It makes me feel good to know that somebody out there is taking something that I'm saying or something that my great array of guests that I've had over these last 3 years take away something from one of them or each of them that they can implement into their daily lives for the better. So as long as there's at least one person out there listening, I'm going to keep doing this every week or almost every week. There have been instances where, as I said earlier, most podcasts don't live past 6 or 7 episodes before the people or the person doing them gets tired of it, the novelty wears off, and they don't see the purpose behind it. And that's happened on a few occasions over these last 3 years, where I actually tabled the podcast for various reasons, but one of which being I just not that I didn't see the purpose, I didn't feel the purpose. I'm not one to do something just to say I did. There has to be some semblance of meaning behind it for me to want to go ahead and do it. I want to make sure it's having an impact in some way, shape, or form. And along the way, when I've put the podcast aside for upwards of 6 months, I had to stop and think, well, why was I doing it in the first place? And has why I'm doing it changed? And has the person that I want to talk to, the people, the ideal person, if you will, that I want to talk to, has that changed? And it really has over time. Every step of the way, I've worked with people who remind me of me. I'm my ideal client, if you will, or people like me. And in this case now, it's people who are, entrepreneurs, business owners, people who are career oriented, career driven, who have sacrificed so much of themselves personally, mentally, emotionally, physically, in the name of building a successful business, a successful career. And I can relate to that because I worked so hard in the newspaper industry to build a name for myself and to do right by the newspapers and the companies that I worked for, and for the people that I wrote for more than anything, the people who read what I wrote. And when it got to a point where I didn't see the purpose in it anymore, I got out. And that's how I've done it with, not just with the health and fitness industry, but with this podcast specifically, is there are times when I wasn't quite sure the purpose was clear. So it was time to set it aside for a little while until that purpose became clear. It's clear now. And it's clearer more than ever now that I've reached episode 100. It's a great milestone in and of itself to do something 100 times over. But it means more to me knowing that the purpose behind this show, the purpose behind why I do this show specifically, is as clear as it's always been. I'm here to help people who have struggled or who are struggling like I have. Like I still do. We all do. We're human beings first and foremost. So I'm hoping that at least one of you out there takes something away from this episode and other episodes you've listened to and have it have a positive impact on your life. If it's doing that, I would love to hear from you. So drop a comment here in the show or find me on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, all that fun stuff. Shoot me a message, shoot me an email, info@fernandezfit.com. Heck, call me, 814-504-7774. I'm putting it out there. I've had that number for a long, long time, so there's no point in keeping it a secret. But it's been a wonderful ride from episode 1 to episode now 100, and hopefully we have 100 more or even more than that. Who knows what the future has in store? But as long as one of you out there is still listening and taking some from this show, I'm going to keep doing it. And based on what I see, I'm at 12 minutes, so I have failed my first goal, which is to keep this short and sweet. So I'm going to wrap things up now while it doesn't go any longer than this. Just a quick reminder to go ahead and like this show, leave a great review, subscribe to it if you haven't already, and share this show and this episode far and wide with anyone and everyone who needs to know that fitness is our business. Thanks so much for listening. I hope what we've shared on this show truly resonates with you. If you want to learn more about the health and fitness services I provide, head to my website, fernandezfit.com. If you're ready to connect with me about health and fitness coaching, send an email to info@fernandezfit.com or a text to 814-504-7774. And of course, you can find me all across social media. Victor Fernandez 123 on Facebook, Fernandez Fit on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, as well as the Healthy Lives, Healthy Business channel on YouTube. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, always remember, fitness is our business.